So, hi friends, we're going to get started with our little heart project. And we are going to first start with our watercolors. And I'm going to create this watercolor with some really bright colors. And you can choose any colors that you'd like. I tend to stay away from blacks and browns for a project like this. But we're going to have this be like kind of multicolored in splotches like so. It's okay if your watercolors touch one another, because when you blend the two watercolors together, sometimes that makes a really magical color. See what I'm doing here? When you blend the blue and turquoise together, making it look really cohesive, but it almost creates like a third color, and that's kind of what we want. I'm gonna go with like a bluish green theme on this one, but you can come up with any color combination you'd like, and it's okay if the colors like touch one another and blend, because that's kind of what we're going for with this. Nice and bright. I think I'll add a little more blue. Now, when you're doing these kinds of art projects, you don't want to really think too much about it. Just use your intuition. As with all art projects, you just want to kind of dive in and not think too much about it. That's part of the beauty of art. It's a chance for your brain to take a break. You can just kind of let loose. See that? See. Nice and bright. Now, to really jazz this up, I'm going to take a smaller, thinner brush. I'm going to dab it in my watercolor and tap on the brush like so. I mean, you don't have to do this. This is optional. But I think it's kind of fun. You can even like add some dashes, some patterns. Or you can just keep it simple. You know, it's up to you. And then to get really wild, I've got some gold paint here. And I'm going to just add a few little dashes of this gold paint. Now, again, this is optional. Little dab here, a little dab there. Just fun. Okay, so this is where you might want to pause the video so that our little artist can catch up on this process, but we're going to move on to the second step. Okay, now just set this aside to dry. Okay, now we have this square of construction paper, and we're going to orient it like a portrait, not landscape, but portrait. Okay, now I'm gonna take my watercolor and I'm gonna cut it into quadrants. 1, 2, straight down the middle, or as straight down the middle as you can. It doesn't have to be perfect. I always say art is not about perfection, it's about letting loose. So you cut it into quadrants like this, okay? Now what you're gonna do is you're gonna share your quadrants with your neighbors, okay? I have another watercolor right here that I'm also going to cut. My neighbor has cut it into 4 quadrants. Again, this is not about perfection or a perfect cut. We're not going to worry about that today. Meanwhile, this watercolor is still wet, so we're going to let that dry a little bit. But what we're going to do is we're going to take that first quadrant that our classmate gave us, and we're going to set it up here on top, like so. But I'm going to make like a fun pattern. Now I'm going to show you the different patterns you can do. First of all, I'm going to kind of cut the corners. These are just suggestions. You don't have to do this. I'm going to fringe one side. You can also do like a curvy cut with your scissors. You can do like something like that. You can really create any shape you want. You can do all of the above. Okay? That's going to be our first layer. So I'm going to take my glue stick and I am going to glue the first layer onto my colorful construction paper like so. We don't need to saturate our paper with the glue stick either. A little bit goes a long way, okay? Now I'm going to take another quadrant that I received from one of my classmates, and I'm gonna create another layer. Now this one, I'm gonna kind of get more creative with this one. And it has to be smaller so that it fits into this first layer, okay? Let me show you what I mean. Like this, see? Or like this. Maybe I'll even cut it a little smaller. That's still a little bigger than I'd like, so I'm gonna cut this down a little. Next, I'm gonna take my glue stick and glue it on just like that, okay? Now I'm gonna take my watercolor and I'm going to create a small heart. Again, this does not have to be a perfect heart. There's really no room for perfection in art. There are no mistakes in art. This is all just our own little creative expression. We all get to do what our hearts and minds tell us to when we're creating art like this, okay? Let me see, I'll go a little bit smaller. So that it fits in the middle. Now, can you just see these gorgeous layers? Our first layer, our second layer, it almost looks like a 3D kind of situation. There we go. I've got my 3 layers up against that colorful construction paper. Now I'm going to take this little white strip of paper and I'm gonna write one word of empowerment. So let's see, or it could be a slogan. I'm going to write, keep dreaming. But this can be any like quote or slogan or word of empowerment that you wish. And I'm gonna take my little slogan, keep dreaming, and I'm gonna put that right in the middle of my heart, like so. And I'm gonna actually trim this construction paper just a little. You can make it interesting. You know what? I think I'm gonna fringe the bottom. Like that. So basically, I've made myself my own Valentine. What do you guys think? And that concludes our little self-Valentine heart art project.